From the Daily Mail, MSNBC host floats war with Canada in shocking on-air comments. This is, okay, all right, here you go.
Stephen, let me ask you about the article you wrote for The Atlantic, and I sent this around to my friend. Stephen, let me ask you about the article you wrote for The Atlantic, and I sent this around to my friends. Just the very fact that it was published, I think, is surprising. That we can have a conversation that is serious about what a war with Canada would look like. Explain why it's no longer unthinkable.
Well, because Donald Trump makes us think it, right? I mean, he talks about annexing us on a regular basis. I mean, somewhere around 2% of the American population actually want to do this. But, you know, at this point in its history, you know, the American people can obviously be convinced of anything, right? And already you see numbers of Republicans who consider Canada an enemy to be growing are. And, you know, I think when countries are in constitutional crisis and when their legal system starts to fall apart, as America's legal system is falling apart, violence against neighboring countries is a very common, you know, to me, it's very intimately tied with this talk about being a third-term president, right? That's out of the playbook of authoritarian governments around the world. And so, you know, Canada really does need to think about protecting ourselves from the United States and making sure that we're not just a snack.
I agree. He's completely right. Secure your borders, shut it down, stop letting anybody across because you don't know what's coming, and we're good.
To me, it's frustrating to hear that stuff because it's so clownish. Canada does not have the capacity to defend against the United States at all.
No.
Like it's not even in the realm of possibility that they could, if the United States decided that they wanted to go take Canada, you could take all of the important parts of Canada in an afternoon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing too that this guy is forgetting is that Trump and Carney met today in the Oval Office. Carney asked Trump to stop referring to Canada as the 51st state. And it appears that Trump has acquiesced to a certain extent.
No, I'm not going to do that.
He was calling Justin Trudeau governor. He's calling Mark Carney prime minister. He very clearly, like from his own position, campaigned for Carney against Pierre Poilievre, which pissed off a lot of Canadian conservatives. But there you have it. I think these two guys get along fine, and I think they're going to work out a situation that's probably going to be beneficial for everybody.
Yeah,
which is great. I mean, honestly, I would be happy to see a normalization of relations between Canada and the U.S. I think that we should be friends with Canada. You know, we should be.
Do you think that Indians and Pakistanis feel the same way I feel of watching a Canadian talk crap about our legal system and our president?
They hate each other way more.
Yeah, I think they do hate each other way more.
It is so annoying.
But it is gross, yeah.
It's annoying.
Stay in your lane. You don't know what you're talking about. And you know when he says like the legal system in jeopardy, he's talking about like Trump's attacks on judges and not the fact that judges are like deliberately going beyond judicial authority to curb the power of the executive.
They're like all these nationwide injunctions and all this stuff. Yeah, it's ludicrous.
And the third term that Trump has already said like 8 times since the initial troll that he's not doing.
I agree with you, but I would also say that Americans know basically nothing about the Canadian political system. So we, like, Post-Millennial was founded in Canada. Now we're owned by an American, which is great. But when we were covering the Canadian elections, we have like a couple Canadians on staff who over and over had to explain to the rest of us, it's Parliament. This is how it works. Oh, Pierre Poilievre lost his seat in his riding. And we're like, oh, so he's out as Conservative Party leader. And they're like, no, because actually somebody in Alberta is going to give up his seat. And then there's going to be a by-election. We're like, isn't that kind of like now he's carpetbagging in Alberta? What's going on?
I do need to warn the Americans, because if you think you're going to march into Canada, you are sadly mistaken. They have mastered trench warfare. Take a look at this image of the U.S.-Canadian border. That trench is so perilous, this 80-year-old man is struggling to get over it. He got over it. He did. But look, you think you're going to drive over that? Think again.
Is that Vermont or New York?
I have no idea.
That old woman in a lawn chair will tear you up.
The United States and Canada have such close relations and have for so long. All of this stuff is all just BS garbage. That's just, it's it's so far away from reality that it's pointless to even.
You're right.
Consider.
I mean, Canada should just be part of the United States. I mean,
It's very
what are we
simple,
talking
really.
about?
I don't know. My
don't know
grandmother
why we'd
immigrated to
want
the
it.
U.S. from Canada. My grandfather's ancestors were Canadian. He was born in the U.S., but I never hear them talk about Canada.
You know what offends me the most is
They're
that
so happy to be American.
isn't it like 90% of Canadians live within like 100 miles of the border?
Yeah.
Yeah, and most live in like that little area near New York and Vermont and Maine,
They're just crowding up on our border to take our stuff.
Ontario and Quebec. Yeah.
Did you see when Trump was talking to Carney? He was like, "We don't want your cars. We don't want your steel. We don't want your aluminum." And Carney's just sitting there,
Yeah.
and he's like, "We don't want access to your market. You want access to ours, so we don't care."
Well, and also Trump wants to pull back all of the film and TV production that's been going on in Canada, specifically like
Smart.
Vancouver.
Do
I,
it.
I saw that too, and people were kind of pissed about it. And I'm like, no, get them all the hell back here.
Yeah.
Yep.
What the hell?
I love the idea on its face, but does it mean that we're just going to get more woke Hollywood movies?
We're getting the same movies no matter
Yeah.
what. It's not
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
it's
Canada's-
the same
No, it'll improve.
producers.
Canada's way more
so
woke than the U.S. is.
That's true.
One-
So's the UK,
The issue is
New Zealand.
they've got to offer up concessions to get access to the cheaper markets. So selling the movies there or producing them there, bring them back. It is interesting, though, because when Trump said this, I'm like, what if the movie is made by an American company, but it's literally about Africa?
Right.
they gonna
You
film
gotta
that
shoot
here?
there. Yeah.
Or Florida, maybe?
Arizona.
Well, also,
I don't
would
know.
that be
Sahara?
a foreign?
Yeah.
Would that be a foreign film if you bring your whole crew? If you like bring everybody?
That's the
out?
issue. You're producing it in a foreign country, first location.
Right.
It's one thing if you're going to Vancouver and claiming it's Chicago, which they do all the time.
That's constant.
Yeah.
Like Riverdale.
Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
There's also
that
a
what they
lot
do?
of great films made in New Zealand.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Is that the only one?
I don't think so.
Really pretty down there.
Only one that matters. I don't know what New Zealand produces. Not cats. You know that?
They produce those haka dances. They do
The
that.
only native animal to New Zealand are birds.
Really.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd they get all the rest of them? Don't they have like
Imported,
capybaras and
usually gifts from other countries. Like white-tailed deer, they actually have domesticated them. They're effectively farm animals.
Wow.
To prevent them from overbreeding. Yeah, it's crazy.
I interviewed a guy a while back named Gareth Morgan, I think his name was. And he got a lot of flack because he had called for, he didn't say to kill all the cats. He said just like neuter and spay them all so they can't have babies because the cats were brought on the British ships or the colonial ships and then jumped off and ran around, had a bunch of babies, and they just started massacring all the local animals who'd never seen a cat before. So he was like, we should just, not let him have babies. And then they wrote in the media like he's calling for the killing of all house cats.
He's a terrorist.
Yeah.
Killing cats.
That was a funny story.
Just send them all to Springfield.
Media's always lying.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's what you get. So war with Canada is coming.
Like I said, it's not coming, and Canada's Canada should be very grateful that it's not coming. They don't have any war making capacity. If you look at the actual like outlines of what
Okay.
Canada has,
I just need to explain this to the people of the world. The United States has a strategic oil reserve, a strategic petroleum reserve.
We're filling it up again.
We are filling it up again. We want to make sure that we can run our tanks, operate our facilities, our factories. Canada has a strategic maple syrup reserve. That is the cutest thing I've ever heard a country do.
I do love that. We have our strategic cheese reserves.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean,
A man is going to have a can of gas and a block of cheese.
and a little maple syrup. Who doesn't need that?
No, that is like a little old granny. Like when I first heard that there was a robbery, did you hear about the Great Maple Syrup Heist?
No.
Some
this
dudes
is a great
stole
story. Like,
millions of dollars.
That
of maple
should be a film, and we should produce it here in the United States.
That's got to be like a James Franco, Seth Rogen film. I guess.
That would be
I guess
so
they
great.
hate each other now, though.
Oh, that's too bad.
So we should do
Who's doing comedy these days?
We'll
anymore?
do
Nobody's doing comedy.
a sequel,
Ryan Long.
or maybe it's the third movie. I don't know if they did a sequel to Red Dawn, but we'll do a Red Dawn, but it's the U.S. versus Canada, and it's filmed in the U.S. thanks to Trump's tariffs.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. You guys think I'm
Joy,
joking?
he's
Look at
funny.
this. The Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist. Vol de sirop d'érable du... I don't know. I
French
can't say
guy.
that. Yeah.
Cycla. Did you hear Mark Carney try and speak French? He was terrible at it. And I don't even know French, and you could tell he doesn't know what he's saying.
Look at this. The theft of over several months of 300 tons of maple syrup valued at 18.7 million Canadian. Wow. From a storage facility in Quebec. The facility was operated by the Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers, which represents 70% of the global maple syrup supply. Okay, I'll be honest. If they can refine maple syrup into fuel, this story would be a lot better. But right now,
syrup is great. Come on.
It sure is if you're a granny wanting to give a sweet treat to your grandchild.
And confirm. I got a lot of those from Grandma.
Wonderful.
MA.
It's wonderful.
It's very good.
But come on. And look at their flag. They got a little leaf on it.
I like
so
the
cute.
flag.
Okay, I'm going to say this. Canada and the Canadians are allowed to get mad at me for it. Their flag has a little maple leaf on it. And they have a maple reserve. They're like little gnomes. They're like, you know what I mean? They're not a serious nation.
No, they're not a serious nation.
We made a flag. We put a leaf on it, and it's
They're
like
too nice.
striking fear into the hearts of your enemies.
It took them a long time to come up with that flag, too. Like, they went through multiple drafts.
Is that serious?
It's like the
really?
simplest
No, they
flag
did,
ever.
yeah.
You know what the red represents on the American flag?
Blood.
The blood of patriots
Yeah, it sure
died
does. Yeah.
for the country. Then you've got like other countries with like a lion or eagles holding arrows.
Dragons.
Dragons. And I'll even respect this. Some have chickens.
Well, elbows up.
Yeah. Canada was like a maple leaf. You know, so Canada, if there was ever going to be a war between our peoples, we would march into that country and they would just say, oh, hey.
Or they would pour boiling hot maple syrup on us. Like down the side of that trench. Just dump it. You know, it would be like
Tar and feather, but with maple syrup.
Siege weapons of launching flaming maple syrup.
And hockey sticks. They just chuck them at us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like if you could like whip a puck at somebody, that'll hurt. That'll hurt. That's why they got helmets.
You know, the Canadians actually do have a military and they have guns and they know how to use them. But just imagining like Mounties with hockey sticks storming into battle on the back of a moose.
I would definitely be most worried about the rural Canadians because those people know how to survive.
Yeah, they like don't
They're
discount
ballers.
the prairies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they would greet us like liberators.
Probably true.
Well, Alberta is like, hey, we might be interested.
Oh, Canada, you are ripe for parody.
They are.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.